Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber, joined here on set by attorney Terry Austin. We also have some special guests for you via Skype, and we're going to talk all about that in a minute because we're about to jump live and talk about a major case here on the network. So let's get started. That's all well and good, but this is the same guy who took the stand and admitted to killing Jennifer Fulford. The jury took a little bit more long time to deliberate the actual decision here about whether or not he was found guilty, longer than some people anticipated. Do you think we're going to get the same kind of thing here in the death penalty that, people are like, hey, he took the stand, admitted to what he did, obviously death penalty, but maybe not?
I think they'll go relatively fast. I think all they have to do is weigh the aggravating and the mitigating circumstances. We haven't heard what the prosecution has to say, but as far as I'm concerned, there's not much to say as far as the mitigating circumstances. Yes, he had mental illness, he had a difficult background, but that's not an excuse, as she said, to kill someone in the way that he did too.
The way that he did, that's a good point. And Joseph, it's not just the act of killing, but this whole setup. He was convicted of first-degree murder. And the way that he targeted Fulford, went there, went into the house, kidnapped her, then went to retrieve money from her bank account. What does that tell you about the level of this attack?
Well, it shows that he's capable, certainly, of planning something. He showed up prepared. He even admitted that, while he was on the stand, putting the proverbial noose around his neck, as it were, in spite of himself. And so, it goes to the ferociousness. Now, I think that defense is trying to explain away how ferocious this guy is, which is, very sad because we're losing sight of who the victim is here.
That's a really good point, and we don't want to forget Jennifer Fulford. She is really the main focus of this case. But one of the other things that I want to introduce, and we have to talk about, is the jury.
Yeah.
So a juror got dismissed yesterday, Terry, for inappropriately discussing the death penalty, thinking that the jury, that there wasn't going to, he figured it was going to end pretty soon because there wasn't enough evidence for the death penalty. Does this happen a lot where jurors talk like this?
That is so rare that a juror is going to be excused. They are instructed not to discuss the case until all of the evidence is in. And he talked about the case, and he said he couldn't come to a death sentence unless there were multiple deaths. That is a real, obstruction there.
Yeah, and you do not want that juror deciding an objective issue here, including the death penalty. So there's a lot to discuss here. All right, this is an interesting development right here. This is the defense beginning their case in the penalty phase, literally trying to save the life of their client. And they've called right now James Nelson. This is the defendant's brother. Now, as you can see, he's not appearing in the courtroom. He's appearing via Skype. That's a little different. Now, he can't travel due to medical reasons, but it won't change the impact of what he has to say. Let's jump back live and see what's happening. Well, in any penalty phase, we do learn a lot more about the upbringing of the defendant and what brought that person to where they are today. What are you making of this testimony from his brother?
I think they're doing the best they can with what they have. They had a difficult background, a difficult upbringing, and under the statutes in Florida, you're allowed to show the background, to show mitigating circumstances. But if I were on that jury, I would be thinking, okay, so what?
Yeah, does it excuse what he ultimately did, and what should be the appropriate punishment? Joseph, your perspective, considering we've covered a number of cases together, and he's saying that their mother suffered from severe nervous breakdowns. Your thoughts?
The world's full of troubles, but at the end of the day, it's about the decisions that you make individually. Was he so compromised mentally that it impacted his ability to make these decisions? Going to Terry's point, is it a mitigating circumstance for what he did to Jennifer? And, at the end of the day, that's what the jury has to wrestle with.
But, the other question is, Terry, when you look at what he testified to and listening to this, in a way, he's becoming more of a human being, trying to understand him ending up on the streets. Again, not a justification whatsoever, but if he becomes more of a human being, will be more difficult for the jury to say, hey, we want to end the life of this person.
That's right. The jury is going to be thinking, well, this could have been my, brother or son. And they're thinking, well, perhaps I should be a bit more compassionate. But when you look at that compared to the crime, I think that's going to outweigh the behavior.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be live.